Tonight on Land Speculation on YouTube, we are digging deep, deep, deep into the nation of Greenland here, which has risen, let's say, in the national zeitgeist over the last few days as Donald Trump's saber rattles ever more about a potential U.S. takeover of this mysterious ice island, dare I say, ice kingdom at the top of the world. We're going to talk a little bit about the strategic importance of Greenland to the U.S. and Europe. It's closer to Europe than you think. We're going to talk about what Greenland is really like. We're going to dig into really like the nuts and bolts of what Greenland really is like, and just how icy is this magical ice island. Is it like the polar bear exhibit at the zoo, or is it like something else? Away we go.
Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack.
This is Land, this is financial speculation. Something we do with Kinky.
Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Honk, 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 honk.
Where's your money?
That would be weird.
Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Let's see. I eat bars of soap for breakfast. I love bars of soap. After midnight, things get weird. Quack, quack.
Oh no. Oh no.
Let it go. Let it go. Cock.
I like that one.
Quack, 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 quack. Come on, ducks.
All right. We are live on Land Speculation on YouTube. We got some folks here in the chat already. Jeanette Lurkey. Ooh, do we give Nightbot a medal for being third here? I don't know. It's a robot, so probably not. Puffy the Weedfish is here as well. James Games is also here. And presumably millions and millions of others lurking around the world. It has been a minute since we have streamed. So if you guys are here, I appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind dropping a like and a subscribe on the video, whether you are watching live now or whether you are watching later at some other time, I appreciate it. Those likes help us out with YouTube. The subscribes help you guys know when we're on. Check our description for the link to our Discord and our Duck Fund, as well as the link to our sister Land Ducks International channel. I've got a little bit of maintenance I want to do on all these channels, so stay tuned for some of that, but we keep cranking out and spitting out videos here and there. So even when we're not streaming live, hopefully there's some stuff that can tide you over just a little bit. Calming the Chaos has also joined us here in the chat, as has... Boy, did I get Spy Man a minute ago? I don't know. It's the short-term memory of... I guess they say goldfish don't have short-term memories. I don't know that they really have much long-term memory either. Anyway, yeah, guys, like, subscribe, do all that stuff if you wouldn't mind. That'll help us out here. I will owe you like a deep debt of gratitude for doing so. Anyway, here we are, and we're going to talk a little bit about the mysterious and magical land of Greenland tonight. So I'm going to try to make this a few different things. We'll explore together everything that's going on, both geopolitically and physically, about this this magic little place. Obviously, Greenland has become very pertinent in the news lately. If you've been paying attention, it seems that just maybe, just maybe, the U.S. is going to try to take over Greenland. Remember when Donald Trump first said that and everyone thought it was like a joke? Everyone was like, oh, that's funny. But Donald Trump says some funny things that he actually kind of means. And I've had to adjust my expectations over time to Donald Trump, that, you know, sometimes like he wants things and eventually he gets things. And Greenland is something that he clearly wants. And I think he'll be disappointed if he doesn't get it. So, it might be, Jerry Carter says, the perfect staging area for the invasion of Canada. Perhaps. It's a big island at the top of the world. How the U.S. would take Greenland, well, that's a bit of a question mark. Denmark doesn't really want to seem to give it up. It's... You know, it's like one of those weird things where it's kind of hard to explain what it is, because it kind of is like an independent territory, but it's also but it's part of Denmark. And it's I don't know, it's a messy, complicated land. So Denmark inherited Greenland from its union with Norway in 1814. That's how that's how Greenland ends up in the hands of Denmark. Like, why does this random little country in Europe have Greenland? So the Norse Vikings settle Greenland in the 10th century because they're nuts and they go exploring, and they reach all the way to Greenland and they make it an initial European claim. It eventually becomes tied to the Danish crown when all this stuff goes down between Denmark and Norway, and eventually Danish missionaries and traders establish some kind of presence on Greenland sometime in the 19th century. In 1953, Greenland officially becomes part of Denmark. Prior to that, I guess it was just kind of like random, sort of who would just go, plant some flags there. It was kind of inhospitable. And 1979, Greenland gained home rule, so it became more independent. And then in 2009, it kind of basically started operating more or less like a country. Although we should point out, and this has been an underreported stat about Greenland, while it is a really fun jumping off point if the U.S. wanted to invade Canada or defend shipping routes at the top of the world, or mine for rare earth metals, or just collect a lot of snow off of the Greenland polar ice sheet. The reality is, owning and operating Greenland is a little bit expensive because it is a big country. It's like the size of a big European nation. It costs Denmark 25% of their gross domestic product to maintain Greenland. It is not like, it ain't nothing. Denmark's population is only around 6 million people, so, keep that in mind. But operating Greenland is expensive, and Greenland can't do it all by themselves. So, yeah. Somebody says they want a Danish. Yeah, Danishes are good. They don't eat many Danishes in Greenland. That's the thing. We're going to talk a little bit about the food in Greenland. It's questionable, let's say. And if it were like cheese Danishes, it would probably taste better. I don't know. I actually haven't been to Greenland. It's one of those places in the world where I actually haven't like been on the ground. And I was researching a little bit about how you get to Greenland, and there are actually flights that you can take to Greenland. It's hard to do it from the US. You have to go to Copenhagen, and then you have to get on a flight on Greenland Air. They only operate very periodically. It's about a 5 hour flight. It's actually not that expensive. It'll take you to the capital city of Nuuk, and then eventually you'll fly back. I was also researching hotel options in Nuuk, just in case we take a little road trip up to Greenland. And there were about 13 different hotel and or long-term stay options in the capital city of Nuuk, which I was surprised at the volume of hotels that are options there. So you can do it. So Greenland, of course, is of strategic interest, or so Donald Trump has decided. He's been in numerous meetings the last few days with military and operational leaders who have been trying to convince him that the U.S. does not need to forcibly take over Greenland in order to be able to control the top of the world from Greenland. There was a time in the past that the U.S. had something like 17 military bases in Greenland. That was back in the World War II era. Now it is just one. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a bit. Denmark is kind of, I mean, because Donald Trump has been saber-rattling about Greenland, Denmark has been forced to be willing to come to the negotiating table to let the U.S. potentially operate more bases and have more autonomy about defending the world from Greenland. But right now, you know, I guess Donald Trump is frustrated because it's in the hands of another country that probably shouldn't be controlling it, and his claim is that they aren't doing enough because it's an important line of defense for Europe against Russia. It is the gateway to northern shipping routes. It is home to a whole bunch of precious minerals. And, you know, what the hell is this giant piece of land in the Western Hemisphere doing in the hands of a foreign power? Manifest destiny. The U.S. should not be amenable to claims of territory by European nations in the Western Hemisphere. Greenland was claimed by Denmark only formally in 1953. Manifest destiny and the, I guess, U.S. claim to the ability to defend the North American continent are claimed to, like, hemispheric sovereignty from European domination was established during the James Monroe presidency, 1817 to 1825. And so how did we let this slip through? How did Dwight Eisenhower of all people, let this slip through that we let a European country lay claim to a massive swath of land in the Western Hemisphere? So if you want to get like big picture about Donald Trump and how he thinks and why he wants to do this, it's offensive if you believe in America's claim to sovereignty over our hemisphere. So what the hell's Denmark doing with it? It is. It's surprisingly close to Europe. It kind of sits up there in that part of the world where the maps get all skewed, and it seems like it's kind of just like an extension of Canada that's closer to us. But no, it actually is pretty close to Iceland and pretty close to the United Kingdom, pretty close to Denmark, which controls it. Although, and it's one of these European countries that's controlling like a territory that is much larger than itself. It's hard. It's hard for a little tiny European country, especially these pacifist European countries that don't believe in the need to defend themselves because they've always been able to trust the United States to do that for them. And the United States has a history of defending Greenland, believe it or not. There have been interests in Greenland for a long time. We mentioned the Vikings going over there a long time ago. The U.S. was over in Greenland back in the World War II era when World War II was looming and the U.S. started inventing all of these industrial products. Like World War II is basically why America invented all of these tools and products and metals and plastics and all these things we make our world out of today were invented through research projects associated with World War II. Non-stick pans, for instance, M&Ms, all kinds of stuff got invented around the World War II era. One of the things that started really being ramped up in usage around World War II was aluminum. And one of the key ingredients in aluminum has to be mined, and Greenland is home to a lot of that particular metal. And so the U.S. set up mines in Greenland around World War II. And so this is actually a picture from that era in World War II, of the U.S. essentially setting up some stuff there. And that's, again, before Greenland became an official Danish territory, I should say. Oh, we went the wrong direction there. And it is actually interesting. A lot of people don't know the whole history of Greenland. So one of the interesting things about Greenland is that before Denmark laid full territorial claim to it, in World War II, the U.S. actually had to go in, and while we were busy in Europe and Japan freeing the rest of the world, as if that wasn't hard enough that we had to free all of Western Europe on their behalf, the U.S. had to go in and free Greenland. We didn't keep it. The U.S. went in I don't remember which year of World War II it was. It was late in World War II. The U.S. had to go in and basically free Greenland from the Nazis. Germany had tried to establish a substantial presence in Greenland in about I would say it's 1945. I should do my research on this and double check. Let's see. Okay, so let's double check. So 1941, 1945. Okay, so the U.S. establishes territories in Greenland. When Denmark fell in 1940, so that's okay. This is the beginning of World War II. Greenland became basically unoccupied territory, and Greenland has always wanted independence of a sort, and so it was. Let's see. When was it? 1940. It was pretty early. Germany goes into Greenland, starts setting up bases there, basically threatening to take over Greenland. And I guess they viewed it as a strategic place to set stuff up. And they, set up a whole bunch of little mines, and they set up docking places for submarines and things like that. And the U.S. had to go in there basically and take things over from Nazi Germany. And it is pretty remarkable if you go back in history there. So this is Germany attempting to basically take over Greenland there in World War II. And it is pretty remarkable if you go back. There are actual newsreel reports from World War II. This is not mine. I didn't make this. This is a literal newsreel from the middle of World War II while they're reporting on stuff going on in Western Europe, where, as you can see, the newsreel is talking about how the Yanks cleared Greenland of Nazi occupation. The United States liberated Greenland. Quite literally, the U.S. liberated Greenland during World War II from Nazi Germany. And then, after that, Denmark formalized its control once more over Greenland in 1953. So this is a country that the U.S. has liberated since the creation of the Monroe Doctrine, which basically asserts hemispheric dominion by the United States free from European domination. So we defended it in 1945. What we didn't do is defend it in 1953. We let Denmark take it back. And so if you're thinking about this through the Donald Trump lens of Venezuela and Manifest Destiny, no, not Manifest Destiny, the Monroe Doctrine, as we talked about in the last stream, Manifest Destiny and Monroe Doctrine are different principles. But if you're thinking about this through the Monroe Doctrine, the U.S., in theory, should feel pretty crappy about having let a European, not even a European superpower, a tiny European country, assert territorial domination over a large piece of land in our hemisphere. And now it's of strategic importance to us. So, put your big picture hat on when you think about Greenland. Okay, Greenland today. Greenland has about 56,000 people in it. It is not a big nation population-wise. Part of the reason it is so expensive to maintain is that it is a giant ice kingdom at the top of the world that is the size of a large European nation, but only has a population half the size of Green Bay, Wisconsin in it. 56,000 people is not a lot. That is the size of like a pretty small, like a large U.S. town, a very small U.S. city. You know, you think of like the city of Dayton, Ohio has about 4 times the population of Greenland in it. It's small. It's a small, lightly populated territory, and yet they have to like maintain it over a very, very large piece of land, and a piece of land that is not particularly easy to maintain because of how icy it is. The capital city of Nuuk in Greenland looks like this. It is not particularly beautiful from the air. It is much more beautiful on the ground. I talked about what it takes to fly to Nuuk. It's basically the only place from internationally that you can fly into Greenland. It is basically the governmental hub of Greenland, and it's where the government of Greenland operates. It is where a lot of administrative jobs are held. It is the most white-collar city in Greenland, and it is basically the delivery hub for most of the things that get shipped into Greenland. Greenland is an importer country, obviously. Not a lot gets produced in Greenland other than fish and shrimp and stuff like that. A little bit of mining, but mostly Greenland is importing the things that it needs for everyday life. And so Denmark does that. We said Denmark spends about 25% of its GDP shipping things into Greenland just to maintain this island. So, you know, if you think about the U.S. and our perhaps forthcoming invasion of Greenland, you think about the U.S. already being in debt as much as we are. Greenland is a big expense. There's a potential return on that expense if you can find a lot of like precious metals and defend the Western Hemisphere from takeover by the Russians or the Chinese, but it's an expensive place to operate. Nuuk is the epicenter for all that. It's where all the hotels are. It's where all the exciting stuff happens in Greenland. And Nuuk is, yeah, it's kind of an interesting city. Like, it doesn't really look like a U.S. city. Greenland's kind of weird because it has sort of roads. The roads kind of die off here and there. Not that many people drive there. Overwhelmingly, people walk. Some people, I mean, you have to have a car there. It's a big enough place. 21,000 people living in the capital city of Nuuk. That's a big enough town that you probably need to drive sometimes. So a lot of people do have cars. Of course, in the cold, it's hard to maintain cars. They have to import all the cars because they don't make them there. Not a lot of major roads, especially when it's snowy and icy. The roads don't mean much. Property is a little different there. As you can see, it's not like clean lot lines between the houses. Everyone just kind of plops down wherever they will. It's a rocky place. It's hard to build on. A lot of these houses are kind of legacy constructions there on Greenland. Greenland has built a lot of kind of towers and kind of block buildings since then, which house apartments and administrative buildings and things like that. These are just some more views of the capital city of Nuuk. You can see the really magical landscapes off in the distance. It's a kind of pretty place. It's sort of like utilitarian in some ways. You know, you don't have like grand old Gothic cathedrals there in Nuuk, but it's a pretty place otherwise. It has nice little houses. The landscape's doing a lot of work here to make it look pretty. And you can see, like, there are some, I wouldn't call them like high rises. You wouldn't call them like skyscrapers, but there are some tall buildings there in Nuuk. Man, look at that, like, seawall. Generally in Greenland's towns and cities, and again, Nuuk is the largest, there are some smaller ones, and generally in Greenland's towns and cities, the port is basically the point of activity. There's not a lot of, like, nightlife in Greenland. People aren't going out and hanging out at bars and, you know, you're mostly going home at night. It's an introvert's paradise, Greenland. And so the epicenter of activity tends to emanate around the port. Pictures like this of Greenland will make a lot more sense when I explain one of the key attributes of Greenland to you here in a second. This is another view of Nuuk. Like, this is kind of the part that looks like the most downtown-like in a way that would be recognizable to Americans. It is different, obviously, but, you know, these are like substantial buildings, agencies, companies. One of the things when you talk to, I mean, I haven't talked to a lot of people on the ground in Greenland, but one of the things I've picked up about when you talk to people on the ground in Greenland, that they really find promising about a potential U.S. takeover of their island is the notion that they might get McDonald's in Greenland, which is kind of cool. And I got to check, do they have McDonald's in Nook now? I'm guessing they maybe don't. Let's see. Is there... No. See, currently no McDonald's in Nook. See, they really want McDonald's. That's why. They don't have McDonald's now. Can you imagine life without McDonald's? We take this so for granted in the United States. It's really cold this time of year there. Obviously, it's way up there. They only get about 2 to 4 hours of daylight in the dead of winter. They have a very different existence in the winter and the summer. In the summer, they have almost 20 hours of daylight. But in the winter, it's very, very dark most of the time, which is part of why people just tend to go home at night. There's not a lot of activity. People like walking around here. There's a good walking culture. I mean, people like walk around, people walking to and from things. But this is kind of the view. So like when you're like in the city, you're in the city of Nook, you look back out, you see these giant like ice formations. It's really quite spectacular. And the ice is constantly shifting. See, I think one of the things the global warming people never quite fully understood is just how much the ice sheet shifts day to day, month to month, year to year. Ice is not this static thing. Ice is constantly moving and changing and evolving. And the ice sheet is shifting. Like, it is crazy how much it changes. These giant icebergs, and these little houses look so dinky by comparison. You live a very kind of humble existence in Greenland. Obviously, everything's very expensive there because it's all being imported. Jobs are relatively well paying there, but it's very expensive to live because your food is imported for the most part. The building materials you need for your house are imported. Heating fuel is tough to come by. Of course, it's very cold. Your car has to be imported. Everything just costs a lot. So they pay the government workers a lot. People tend to, there are also people that work, blue collar jobs doing like the fishing and the mining and stuff like that. It's kind of a rough and tumble lifestyle when it's that cold. You got to have winter coats like you wouldn't believe in Greenland. Now, one of the things that helps you understand Greenland, because one of the things you're looking at these pictures, you're probably wondering, like, why are all the houses so colorful? Is it because Greenland is so icy and it's otherwise so dreary when you have 20 hours of darkness in the winter? Like, maybe people just paint their houses pretty colors because that like brightens their day, which is partly true. The colored houses do add a bit of like beauty and color and picturesqueness to Greenland. Now, if you've ever painted like seats in a stadium, I don't know how many of you have ever painted the seats in a stadium. One of the things that you learn through that process is that different colors do not age equally. Green is a common color for seats in stadiums because as a paint, it tends to stick better because of the ingredients that get used to make green. So you would think they would go with the colors in Greenland that would stick the longest. If you ever had to like maintain a house through a brutal northern winter, it's tough. These houses need some maintenance. And yet the houses are all different colors. Why? Why are the houses in Greenland all different colors? There's actually an answer to that. And it has to do with the fact that in the winter in Greenland, while things look pretty in the summer, the more you get into winter, the darker and more dreary it gets. This is Greenland like in winter when it's dark. There is snow falling, there is ice and snow everywhere. People are walking around town. It is dreary. Everything kind of blends together in the background. The buildings almost look like the sky. The sky almost looks like the building. You're trying to figure out, where am I going? The roads aren't that clear. You don't even know where the lanes are. You don't even know where you're trying to get most of the time. So in Greenland, because it is so dark and so dreary and so snowy so much of the year, this started a long time ago, that in Greenland there evolved essentially a sort of code of conduct when it came to painting buildings. And that was because people wanted to be able to tell basically where they were going by the color of the building. So if you're like looking off in the very murky distance, you want to be able to tell where that hospital or that shop or that police station or that factory you're going, where that is. And the brighter you can paint the colors, the more that helps you be able to differentiate between the buildings. And so when you look out at the landscape of a place like Greenland and you see these, we'll go back to a picture that really shows it nicely. Let's see, not this one, it's the one before that. Let's see, okay, here we go. Here's a picture of Greenland. Greenland becomes much easier to read when you realize that buildings that are red in Greenland are almost universally basically commerce buildings. Those are like where shops are located, as well as where like fish processing and warehousing is happening. It's like red is shops. Yellow tends to be public services like hospitals and clinics, as well as public administrative buildings. Black is the police station, as well as like official government buildings. Green tends to be like telecommunications, like technical infrastructure buildings. Blue, those tend to be maritime related buildings. And then like these sort of generic white, pastel, gray color buildings, that's just housing. Those are kind of older housing buildings. And so when you look out at a picture like this, you see red, it's like, oh, those are shops probably, or some kind of, processing building. The yellow, you're looking at like government buildings, hospitals. You're looking like at the top of the hill, you have these sort of generic buildings. That's probably housing. And so all of a sudden, Greenland starts to make a lot more sense. This is basically universal throughout the country. Here you can see off in the distance is like a big bright red building. And everywhere you go, that's the case. Generally, pastel colors are housing. So you can get some housing that is different colors as long as they're kind of pastels. But when you look at like a Greenland town, there you go. That's how you read Greenland. So as we start thinking about like, okay, these are going to be our new neighbors. This is going to be our 51st state. This is what you're on the lookout for. Is, maybe we'll adopt this in the United States. Everyone will have to repaint their house. And again, it's like it's easier to read in the winter. Now, I don't know how you read it when it's like this dark and dreary, but it helps. It helps. And you ask people in Greenland, they would say it helps. It helps you be able to figure out where you're going. It's a navigation tool. Everything in Greenland is utilitarian. So it's a pretty place. These are like very picturesque images. Look at the reflections in the water there. Little bits and pieces of ice lingering off here in the distance. Houses up on the hillside. Look at how tough this is to build. You have to like drill into the rock to establish some piers. Then a big snowstorm comes along and takes a beating on your house. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough stuff there in Greenland. Little communities too. Like most of the towns there are like 3,000 people, if that. Nuuk is the capital city. That's like the big city. It's like the county seat in a rural U.S. county, 20,000 people. It's not very big either. Very pretty place. Not a lot of like back porches where you're sitting out with like an iced tea and a lemonade in Greenland. You're spending a lot of time indoors. Movies, very popular. Reading books, very popular. There is telecommunications in Greenland. That's a big part of the experience, that Denmark kind of helps Greenland maintain a telecommunications connection to Europe. And, that of course helps them be able to, have things to watch in the dreary dead of winter. Again, lots of people in Greenland are working administrative jobs for the government. So when you leave, after your very strict 9-to-5 day, because Greenland tends to keep a very strict 9-to-5 schedule, you got to have something to do in the evenings. It's a social culture, but it's also very like introverted culture. So you may like invite friends over to your house, but you're not going to go like throw raucous parties in the street. But like imagine like what it's like to live amid the landscapes of Greenland. It is Look at that. Look at that like sheer rock. And they like tried to make a little fence walkway thing between. It's like, man, it's like living in like the Irish countryside seems idyllic. But then there's this. And there's this. It's really cool. Don't you want Greenland now? Of course, the cities in Greenland are all at the edges, very close to the water, ports. The great vast middle of Greenland is the great Greenland ice sheet, the thing that Al Gore has been more worried about than anything else in the world, seemingly, since his, since his documentary about global warming. And his concern was that if the ice sheet of Greenland melts, it will cause, seas to rise like 1 billion feet, and we're all drown, or so it seemed. The Greenland ice sheet, I guess, has been retreating. Like, that's a real thing, that it has been retreating, but it's also just been shifting. It tends to shift over time. And it hasn't actually really raised the sea level that much. But Greenland has a lot of ice in the middle. This is, and it's just surreal, picturesque images of the ice in Greenland. It's just kind of like, it's remarkable, especially when you get this like these random pockets of ice melt, in the warmer days. You get these incredible blue picturesque pockets. People don't venture out very much. Greenland's not like the kind of place where you're going to go hiking a lot. It seems like it would be, but it's not. Greenland does not have roads between the cities. All the cities you have to get to between through either prop plane, or through, they have boats that I guess go between them periodically, seasonally. The only place you can fly into internationally is Nuuk. You cannot drive across Greenland. You don't want to go hiking across Greenland. It is not that kind of place, but it is beautiful. And, if you were to go out and hike on the ice sheet, you would probably die. Here are some people attempting to do it, I guess. It's kind of dangerous for a number of reasons. The ice is constantly shifting. These pockets open up. You get cracks in the ice. Of course, it's extremely cold and isolated, and you're going to need some darn good snowshoes if you're going to venture out. Look at that crevice in the landscape. But it does feel otherworldly, and I am always on the quest to find those kinds of places when I visit them that feel otherworldly. And when I think about the most beautiful places I visited in my life, they tend to be the kinds of places that feel otherworldly. And Greenland is absolutely like that. If you ever get a chance to visit the Greenland ice sheet. Of course, the melt, both the climate change melt and the seasonal melt, creates conditions that are both beautiful and dangerous, with these giant chunks of rock, or giant chunks of ice, falling off of the ice sheet here and there, creating big kathunks in the water, making big splashes. You don't be standing under a giant piece of ice when it falls off, because it will kill you. Ice is actually very heavy. It's also sharp. You get an icicle in your eye, like that kid in A Christmas Story. Falling ice is a real danger, whether you're on top of it or underneath it. These big pockets, like rivers that develop, deep ice rivers, very cold water rivers. But man, it's beautiful. Like, there's something so majestic about ice. It makes you want to. It's so pure. It's so beautiful. Yeah. It's really something. And you don't want to go soil it as a human. Greenland has these secret tunnels that the aliens made. It's also a very dangerous part of Greenland, because Greenland is full of deep underground aliens that are also Freemasons, that are plotting to take over the world. And they carry the DNA of some distant intergalactic alien spawn that has seeded various celebrities like Justin Bieber and Joan Rivers. And they secretly control the world from an underground ice palace deep in the tunnels of Greenland. This guy was tempted. He explored. He tried to explore some of these tunnels. He was gobbled up by an alien. Yeah. So, there are different dangers about Greenland. It's not a long list of people. I mean, most people don't, venture into the tunnels, but you talk to the Greenland people, they know where not to go. There's a symbiosis that you need to maintain. And I don't know how they would feel about, Donald Trump taking over Greenland. Probably kind of angry. I don't know. I mean, maybe they don't care because they're plotting. They're plotting their strike. Maybe Donald Trump is one of them. Maybe Donald Trump just wants to be able to access his relatives. I don't know. I don't know all the details. I'm telling you what I know about the secrets of Greenland. But there's a deep, mysterious underground world beneath the ice of aliens and Illuminati. That is very, very scary. Yes, it is quite dangerous if you go exploring. So you don't want to go exploring the ice sheet for that reason. People often ask me, I'm walking around town. People are like, "Where's the White House?" And I'm like, "It's over there." And then the second thing that people ask me the most when I'm walking around Washington D.C. is, "Does Greenland have polar bears?" And it's a good question because a lot of people know that the North Pole has polar bears and the South Pole has penguins, and penguins and polar bears rarely, if ever, interact. They probably don't even know about each other's existence. But does Greenland have polar bears? Because Greenland is sort of like if you took the North Pole and the United States and you like split the difference. That's kind of what Greenland is like. And so does Greenland have polar bears? Well, the answer to that, anybody want to guess, does Greenland have polar bears? The answer to that is Greenland does have polar bears. They have polar bears in the west, they have polar bears in the east, and they have polar bears in the south, and they have polar bears in the north, which I know sounds weird because that just sounds like it means all of Greenland. But there are various pockets of Greenland that have different distinct communities of polar bears. And you can see this guy. He's like, "Where did all my ice go?" He's very sad. The polar bears do roam the ice. They kind of love it. They like swimming too. It's their natural habitat. That's what they're built for. You would think they'd be cold, but no, this is what they're built for. They're just being polar bears. And humans are told to be very scared of polar bears because polar bears are probably the scariest of all the bears. Polar bears are like much more deadly than I mean, black bears are kind of just like, they just want to like rummage through your trash. You can scare off a black bear by banging trash can lids together. Brown bear might eat you. Brown bear is kind of scary. Polar bear, very scary. Like if you really get into close contact with a polar bear and it decides it wants to eat you, you're going to die. They're very powerful. They're very strong. Those pictures of polar bears with like blood smeared all over their faces are kind of, I don't know, it's like weirdly adorable, but it's also terrifying because they are apex predators. And the seals got to watch out for them. And they do roam all over Greenland. And they have killed people, historically. There haven't been that many polar bear deaths of humans, historically, but there have been some. Humans just don't tend to interact with them in the wild that much because they occupy places that are very cold. The official Greenland Tourism Agency has documented several cases of humans, I guess, being like confronted by polar bears over the last 7 or 8 years. They're very protective of the stat that like they don't think that polar bears have killed anybody lately in Greenland, but how would you know? Because like once they've eaten you, you can't tell your story. It's hard to report your own death once you've been eaten by a polar bear. But I will say, like, if I had to get eaten by some kind of apex predator, polar bears are pretty cute. So it's just hard to believe that like something that cute could like come and tear you to shreds and eat you alive. But they can. And they will if you get in their way. Your best hope is that they don't see you and you can slowly slink out of sight. But they will come for you in your sleep. And we've done a lot of bad by polar bears by presenting them in the Coca-Cola advertisements as these friendly creatures. I don't know if you've ever seen like imagery of a baby polar bear, but holy crap, those things are cute. Like, I want a baby polar bear as my pet. and I want it to like never get older than about 6 weeks old because then it will kill me. Of course, the ice sheet is home to some mining, and there are activities that happen up there. Pretty rare, pretty incremental. You got to go to these like rare rural ports in the north of Greenland. People that have these kinds of jobs have amazing stories to tell. And probably the most interesting thing for the U.S. strategic interest is the one remaining giant base in Greenland that sits basically at the top of Greenland is, what's it called? Everything there has weird, hard to pronounce names. Let's see. It is the Pituffik Space Base. So it's been renamed, I guess, since the creation of the Space Force. It is a major epicenter for the Space Force. And it is basically where the U.S. tries to protect the entire top of the world from Russia and from China. And so, Russia and China have tried to invade Greenland on several occasions, and we've had to fight wars against them. Kind of, sort of, maybe. These are some views of the Pituffik Space Base there at the top of Greenland. We're talking like way the north of Greenland now. A lot of pipes. Very utilitarian buildings. Pretty landscape, but you're only there if you got a reason to be there. You're either defending the world against Russia, you're defending U.S. strategic interests, you're doing mysterious space stuff. They got buildings, stuff like that. There's it at night. Here it's like really cold. Really cold. There it is at night. It's snowy for a great majority of the year. It's like, it is surreal. Like, imagine like being up there. You are alone at the top of the world. If you are there at the Pituffik Space Base, there in northern Greenland. And yeah, here's a little bit more. Some pickup trucks. It's probably the vehicle of choice up there. If you are doing stuff at the Pituffik, there's a little bit more of the ice, the snow. But it's windy there. The wind whipping off the North Pole. Yeah, okay, there's another building. Small windows. You want to keep these buildings heated. Everything's elevated a little bit because there's so much snow and ice. And then if you just have the good fortune to live on this base, you get like a room like this, which kind of feels cozy. I appreciate the effort to be accommodating by putting art on the wall. I bet it would get a little claustrophobic after some time, but like this does seem kind of nice, doesn't it? Like, it's like you get the sort of like you're at the top of the world. You got all this kind of like Scandinavian furniture and stuff. It's like living in IKEA. It's the top of the world. Very compact and quaint and warm and cozy. And look out your window and you see all this snow and ice. I'm being very romantic with Greenland. We posted a short about hotel art on our other channel. We'll probably post more as we get into more hotel tours on our other channel. So if you like hotel art, or if you loathe hotel art, we do comment on it a lot. They have little, I don't know if these are, I assume these are stuffed animals as opposed to like live cats. Somehow found their way into this bed. It does seem cozy there, doesn't it? And then I guess you're doing the like bathroom down the hall thing, because it is a military base. Okay, this is a bath. At least you get like a private shower. You're not doing like the big gang shower. Decent looking shower portals there at the base. I believe that's the case, that every hotel room has cats in it in Greenland. Here are some children playing in the ice there in Greenland at the Pituffik base. Is she holding a balloon? Or is that like the giant bloody heart of a polar bear that she has mined from deep underwater? I think this seems like it would be cold, but maybe you get used to it. People do the polar bear swims. I can't imagine. They dug a hole in the ice and they went swimming. Greenland hobbies, I guess. And then this is in the Google Earth array of images for Pawtucket Air Base or Space Base. That there was a tractor trailer truck with a Trump Pence 2020 Keep America Great thingy on it. So I guess they like Trump at the Pawtucket Air Base. I mean, he established the Space Force, so I guess they like him up there because you know that's their job, the Space Force. So Donald Trump is now like he wants to take Greenland, and the geopolitics of that are it's kind of surreal that he has like managed to turn this into a real conversation. And it is interesting that both Greenland and Denmark have kind of backpedaled on it. Now they're actually like having a serious conversation about it as opposed to just dismissing it out of hand. And that's the power of the United States. If the United States wants something, you kind of have to like entertain what the U.S. wants. This would be a legacy project for Donald Trump to take Greenland for sure. And again, he has lots of advisors telling him like, no, we don't need to, which is usually fuel for him to be like, yes, let's do it. And so as we look out across Greenland, just it's a place of ponderance and reflection. Like, do you guys want Greenland? Do you think the expense is worth it? Like, I guess my questions to you as we ponder here are like, do you feel like the expense of maintaining Greenland is worth having Greenland? Is it worth perhaps like kind of tearing to shreds some of our long-standing geopolitical alliances? Like it would kind of mess up NATO, I think. Trump says this is part of the U.S. defending Europe, is to have Greenland, but a lot of people would be pretty mad about the territorial land grab. It would make the U.S. look like the bad guy in many people's eyes, but is it worth it? Does the Monroe Doctrine actually like give you a feeling of injustice that like some European country came and claimed territory in our hemisphere after we established the Monroe Doctrine? Like, what the hell is that? And not only that, but we liberated them in World War II, and yet some other country has some like claim over it. Like, why is this not ours? I think it's like reasonable to maybe think that a little bit if you're the U.S. The notion this is just U.S. bad. If you look at it through the perspective of the Monroe Doctrine and the effort we put in to liberate it from Germany, it's like, why don't we control Greenland? Is it like, do you want the precious metals? Would you like to go on vacation to Greenland? Now that we've talked a little bit about what it's like to live in Greenland, would you like to live in Greenland? Does it seem like a nice thing? It's kind of an introvert's paradise? There's not a lot of pressure to go out and do things. The job opportunities are somewhat limited, but you could get probably an interesting governmental paper pushing job, or work on like a fishing rig. No McDonald's though. That's the tough part. It's cold if you like winter. It's good for that. Pretty houses, pretty landscapes. You can go stare at the ice. It's probably very soothing. But sometimes winter gets to people. Winter can be depressing. And when winter is most of the year, basically all of the year, would you like to live in Greenland? Is the chaos and the social pressure of living in mainland United States too much? And does Greenland seem appealing to you because it is a little different? Give me your thoughts here in the chat. Would you like to live in Greenland? What do we got here? Okay, here's some more pretty pictures of Greenland. The ice, the water, the melting ice. Those blues, man. I like those blues you get in the water when the ice starts to melt. It's very, very, very pretty. The pristineness of it, like it hasn't been trampled by a whole bunch of like New Yorkers tromping through Times Square. Pristine. Okay. If it helps sway your decision, here's Greenlandish food. This is their most famous thing. This is some kind of stew they put together, and I guess stew kind of makes sense. It is okay. It's called suasat or suasit. This is it's a soup made from seal, whale, and reindeer meat. Like, imagine that combination: seal, whale, and reindeer meat, thickened with rice or barley, imported, containing potatoes and onions. So you got like stuff you can import and store, and then the stuff you can actually get in Greenland, which is seal, whale, and reindeer meat. That's probably very tough. I think a seal is very tough meat, providing essential warmth and nutrients from the sea and the land. They eat a lot of whale skin and blubber, which is apparently very rich in vitamin C. People in Greenland struggle with vitamin D because it's not that sunny there, and they don't spend very much time outside, so I think you get like very bright lights overhead in Greenland. A lot of dried seafood you get there, and obviously shrimp. You're eating a lot of like aquatic stuff. They do make a cake there. Cowlit kagiat cake, which is a cardamom spiced sweetbread or cake filled with raisins, often served with berry jelly with modern twists include experimental ice creams and local berries topping cakes. They also sometimes will eat as dessert whale skin and blubber with candy on top. I don't know if that sounds that good. I don't think that's combining too much like main course and dessert into one dish. Yeah, okay, this is where you're eating like, okay, this is like whale skin and blubber. Man, that looks thick and chewy. Goodness gracious. Man, thick and chewy stuff. Oh yeah, and then this is what is this? This is some other kind of fish. This is like bottom dwelling, like it's like crumb fish or something like that. I can't even picture what this tastes like. It looks like little blueberries mixed with caviar. I'm gonna assume that's what it tastes like. Lots of chewy North Atlantic fish stuff. What a diet. No wonder they want McDonald's. Okay, I wanted to pop in. We should do an ad. Okay, let's do an ad real quick here, guys. Give me number 1 through 15, somebody. I need a number. See, like snow falling on North America. See, even there, like now you see much more acutely how much greenery and plants and stuff is lurking around underneath the surface here, as opposed to those Greenland landscapes, which are much icier. Okay, we got a number here, 10, from Liberty Lover OK. Appreciate it. Number 10, here we go. Number 10, number 10, number 10, number 10, if I can find it. All right, here we go.
Hey everyone, it's a lot of fun hanging out with you all. We really enjoy the conversation and especially appreciate you keeping the chat friendly and respectful. Just a reminder that here on Land Speculation, we welcome all viewpoints and encourage a bipartisan conversation. Just keep it civil and I won't need to pull out my wrench. Happy chatting!
Quack, 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 quack.
All right, we are back here on Land Speculation. That was moderator extraordinaire Quiet Castle lurking off here in the chat. Very much appreciate the work all of our mods do. Quiet, Jeanette, James, Games, and Moniker, as always. Okay, I wanted to, let me see if I can pull this up. Pull up our good friend. Let me see, what did I do with it? There's a lot of layers I have to balance to do these deep dive streams. Okay, we'll pull up the old Google Earth here. Okay, there we go. There we go. We're going to take a quick spin through Greenland so you guys can put this in space and time. This is our Earth sitting amongst the universe. There's like stars and stuff. Okay, here we go. We'll zoom in here a little bit. Where we are. Okay, there's Australia. We're way in the wrong part of the world. So let's zoom around here. This is South America. We'll get up here to North America and Greenland, and you can see like Greenland is actually close. It's actually very close to Iceland. It's much closer to Iceland than it is to anything in the United States. But it's kind of in an ambiguous location up there on the top of the world, and you can see it is mostly covered in ice. So there it is. Jeanette wants a poll. Okay, would we live in Greenland? Let me see if we can pop up a poll here. Let me see. How do I do that? We'll do a poll. This is not a commitment that you have to live in Greenland. This is a poll asking, would you, in theory, be interested, possibly, in living in Greenland? Do you like what it feels like the Greenlandic lifestyle is like? If maybe they got a McDonald's? I should have put a caveat, like, yes, if they got a McDonald's. I think if they had a McDonald's, I would eat a lot of McDonald's there. You go to remote parts of the world as an American, sometimes. And I like trying, foods from different parts of the world, but sometimes it becomes a staple of reliability in some cases. Beach house in Greenland would be pretty. Not that beachy, but it would be pretty. All right, let's dig back into Greenland here. So, okay, so the middle of Greenland, yeah, very icy. The ice sheet. There's not really a lot that you're going to see on the Google Earth here. It's sort of like zooming into endless white. And then, yeah, you get like parts. Yeah, okay, so here you go. There's like parts you can see the ice starting to melt. I wonder if we scrolled enough, could we ever find a polar bear somewhere in Greenland? Look at these. Yeah, okay, there, look at that. See, you're getting ice melt. You're creating these like channels. Oh yeah, glacial channels. Yeah, the ice is this like snow and ice has been going down the hillside. You probably ski down these channels into the water. Yeah, look at that. It's like it's very pretty, very pretty. Very rocky though. And look at how resilient nature is. There's like stuff growing here on the side of these rocks, even though it was probably covered with snow for most of the year. This is not a particularly heavily populated side of Greenland. As is the case with most island nations, the more populated part of the island is the part that is relatively more protected by being closer to other continents and therefore has less intense conditions that affect its coastline. And so when you go to the western side of Greenland here, you start to see more of these little towns, little communities that start popping up. I mean, I don't even know if you would call these, okay, so a lot of these aren't even communities. They're just named places with very complicated names. And eventually you sort of work your way up the coastline here on western Greenland. And eventually you stumble into, over here, the city of Nuuk, which is kind of randomly buried deep in here. It's around some mines. That's kind of why it exists where it does. And there is the capital city of Greenland, Nuuk. Not that pretty, like overhead, but there's some interesting things there in Nuuk. The Nuuk Boardwalk. See that? Like there's I guess that's sort of the coastline. There, the Nuuk Boardwalk. You can see what that looks like. Sort of fun, like on a nice summer day, go for a little walk with some ice cream or some like dried whale skin or whatever you're eating there along the coastline. Be kind of pleasant. So the city of Nuuk it's a cultural destination. Okay, so they got like hospitals. Hospital there. You can see, yep, the hospital. See, it's yellow. I'm not lying about this stuff, guys. The hospital is yellow. The Central Hospital of Greenland. So if you have like a big hospital thing, there are probably some things you need to fly internationally to do, but you could probably get most care you need there in the Greenland hospital, the Queen Ingrid's Hospital. Man, imagine if your queen was named Ingrid. Biologist station over here. Okay, that's fun. There are some cultural attractions there. There is the National Museum and Archives. That's kind of a fun place. You get to see a lot of, Greenlandish culture there on display. Look at that. A lot of weapons. Boy. Stab a lot of polar bears. Yeah, interesting stuff. Wildlife. It's a steep set of stairs. I guess you get used to kind of living in that environment. There is the Nuuk Art Museum. That is another attraction here. That is an awfully compact-looking art museum, and I don't know. I'm sure that the art there in the Nuuk Art Museum is predominantly like, it's art of explorers there at the northern part of the world. I don't know that you have a lot of like Van Goghs in the Nuuk Art Museum. Yeah, it's nice little sculptural stuff there. Oh, look at that polar bear. Yeah, cute little art. They're at the Nuuk Art Museum. Okay, so you get some churches. There's the Church of Christ the King. Yeah, okay. And then the Nuuk, like, this is the big, okay, this is the Nuuk Stadium. It's a big soccer. There's not really many seats there. But I guess there's enough warmth during parts of the year they can play outdoor soccer. Interesting. The Nuuk Stadium. I wonder what that looks like. Wow. Wow. Okay, guys, like, there are some pretty stadiums in the United States where you, like, sit there, like, PNC Park in Pittsburgh, you sit in the baseball stadium and you get to, like, look at the skyline of Pittsburgh. If you are at a soccer game at this stadium, how on earth would you pay attention to what's happening in the game? Goodness gracious. That is unfreaking believable. And I guess they have like this big indoor venue also. And then like, yeah, parts of the year it's just covered in big snow ice chunks. That's pretty remarkable. Okay, a lake, just because you're not surrounded by enough water there in Greenland. Okay, viewpoint, that's probably pretty, I would think, if there are pictures. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that's not disappointed. That's pretty. Pretty views of the town and the water. Yep. I don't know what this means. That's a really long name of something. Okay, this is a kindergarten. Greenlandish kindergarten. I mean, other than it looking like it's cold outside, I mean, I guess this looks like what you would expect a kindergarten to look like. Gazebo outside. I guess when you can go outside, you want to take advantage of it in a place like that. And interspersed among all of it, there are the periodic hotel, or at least kind of like dwelling place, And if you go into like the streets of, let's pick a random street here in central Nook, you know, you got, okay, these are like very Scandinavian buildings. Look like they're designed for weather. Yeah, this looks pretty industrial. Some cars. Drive along. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of your experience a bit. And then, you know, you go up in the hillside, though, you get a whole bunch of like residential areas where there's a lot of little houses and sometimes like single houses. And then there is the Nook Airport over here. That's where you fly in from international, if you're flying in from Copenhagen. Not a big airport. There's not even really a gate, per se, there at the airport. I'd say it's probably mostly used for freight shipments, because like everything you need has to be shipped in from somewhere. And then, okay, there's a university there. What a college in Greenland would be. Party scene. College in Greenland. And then, what is this? Okay, best view. Best view? Okay, this is not the best view. This is a view. It's not the best view. That's incorrectly labeled. So that's the capital city of Nook, and then like that's it, because you can't drive anywhere outside of it. So maybe you can go out to the suburbs here, I guess. There's some suburbs out here on the outskirts of Nook. Lots of little houses. They have the Google Earth street views out here, way out here. They do. You can. Somebody went around with a Google truck and drove around all those houses. Look at that. Look at that. This is like you're living out in the suburbs of Nook. This is what your life is like. People have like patio furniture. The person has a grill. There's a grill. Somebody's sitting on their porch like grilling in Greenland. I think it's a summertime activity. Rush hour traffic jams? Not really. There's not a lot of vehicular traffic there in Nook. Again, because most people walk. There's a lot of walk traffic jams, though. I mean, not that it's like a traffic jam exactly, but you know, there's a lot of people walking around, like at rush hour in Greenland. And again, it's a very strict 9 to 5, so you're gonna like see a lot of people walking around at certain times of the day, and in the evenings it's very dark and dreary. And you get, so here's another little town, another tiny little town here. This is actually a pretty big little town. You're spreading 56,000 people over the whole country, though. It's not a museum. What is this museum? The what is this? The Sisimiut Museum. Yeah, okay, this is another little town. Look at that. Pretty. But again, another place that's kind of hard to get to. They also have an outdoor soccer field here. Okay, and then you have to like, so we'll zoom like, back to like Greenland. So we're mostly in southern Greenland here. You got to go like way up to the north of Greenland. You're like almost at like the top of the world here when you get to the very top. Look at how close you are to the northern islands of Canada up here. You get to the top of Greenland. Yeah, this is getting to be pretty brutal territory up here. Way up in northern Greenland. Lots of little places up here, though. And then, yeah, you get the, I gotta find it here. We'll find the Patuxent Space Base. Okay, so we were right there. We found it, we just didn't find it. It's buried in the ice. Okay, here's the Patuxent Space Base. This is the big U.S. military presence. So, like way at the top of Greenland here. This is way up here. And this is where the U.S. is defending the world in all of these little barracks. And there's another little landing strip there. Pretty big landing strip, actually. You can probably take some pretty enormous planes up there. And yeah, it's a big military base. There's some supporting stuff around it. A bunch of like drums where they keep the alien carcasses. And then other than that, like you step off the base a little bit and then you're up in the ice sheet. And that is very big and very cold. Big old ice sheet. I bet if we scrolled enough, we could find a polar bear somewhere. And there's probably somebody out there that like tracks that kind of stuff. Scouring the world. Like where on Google Earth are there polar bears? But that's basically Greenland. Like, it's the capital city, it's that base, it's a few little towns. Do you want it? Do you want Greenland in our back pocket? You guys are saying here in the chat so far, it's a 50-50. Do you want to live in Greenland or not? On the top of the world, looking down on creation. What an existence there in Greenland. Okay, let me pull up some of your comments here so I can get some of your thoughts along the way. Just a reminder as you go along here, if you wouldn't mind dropping a like and subscribe in the video, I appreciate that. Check the description that has the link to our Discord and our Duck Fund, as well as the link to our new partner channel, Land Ducks International, where you can see raw footage of stuff from places we have visited and other things, hotel tours and things like that, other related content. Pull up the live chat here. Okay, there we go. So would you want to live in Greenland? Again, it's 50-50 right now, but we will collapse that and let people keep voting here. Okay, lots of highs and hellos here as we travel along in the comments. Some folks I didn't, of course, greet. Colad264. You fanny Americans, why won't yours McDonald's, not Healthy Foods and Corpo? I mean, I'm not saying that like McDonald's is going to be healthy. I'm just saying like I've done some studying of the people in Greenland. They seem to be very enthusiastic about the idea of bringing McDonald's to Greenland. And that's like one of those things that America can sort of dangle out there and be like, you know, if you go with us, you'll get some McDonald's. Liberty Lover OK. Lived in Alaska for a year just to experience it. That's cool. I would be actually very interested to hear about that Liberty Lover OK. That'd be an interesting guest stream, wouldn't it? Quiet Castle. I like the house colors much nicer than in San Francisco. Matt Davis, okay, I hope you won't have great-grandchildren. It'll all be gone in 75 to 100 years because of climate change. I have actually met people in real life that like don't want to have kids because the media they consume has terrified them of climate change so much that like they wouldn't breathe life into another human being. Like that is a sick, sad existence for people that like literally don't want to have kids because of climate change. Like that is that should be like outside the realm of like acceptable communication in the United States. Like anybody that says that you shouldn't have kids because of climate change, like that's not like an okay perspective to have. That is awful gaslighting to do to people. And I dare them to look their potential kids in the face and tell them they don't deserve to live because of climate change. Like David Attenborough, I think, used to he made a comment a number of years ago that like really set me off, as I recall. It's like if you really believe that climate change is so bad that people shouldn't have kids because of it, like rather than punishing those prospective kids from the ability to like enjoy life, like like that shouldn't be their responsibility. Like fix yourself. Fix yourself rather than telling other people they don't deserve the right to live. I've never been able to think about David Attenborough in the same way since I heard that comment, if I recall it correctly. Anyway, where's the ski lift? I don't know, Calming the Chaos. I don't even remember what that was referring to. Let's see. Most importantly, in the EU, you can have free doctor's prescriptions. Insurance you don't have to pay, says Colad. Well, somebody's paying for it, if not you. Lurky. Nobody paints their house white. They'd never find it. A lot of the churches were white, though. That was interesting. 13 degrees in Nook, Greenland right now. That's actually like not that much colder than winters here. It just lasts for a lot longer over the course of the year. Nook right now, 30 degrees. That's not bad. I could deal with that. All right, all right. Let's see. The national song of Greenland is Ice, Ice, Babe. I actually don't know what the national song of Greenland is, but I bet they have one. Let's see. 10% of Americans have passport. I don't know the stats on that. If that's only 10%, I mean, America's a big country. You can do a lot of traveling within the continental United States. It's a very different experience than in Europe, where you have to cross the border to go to like see anything interesting. Europeans do a lot of traveling between countries. In the U.S., different states effectively are different countries. In fact, many, many, many U.S. states are much larger than many, many, many U.S. countries. The entire nation of Denmark is 6 million people. That's the size of, like, there are a lot of cities in the U.S. that are bigger than that, and a hell of a lot of states in the U.S. that are bigger than that. If land speculation had its own country, would it be called Land? That does seem redundant, doesn't it? Jerry Carter, the houses would make easy landmarks for invading forces. That's true. I guess you put yourself on a little bit of a vulnerability situation. I mean, of course, it's not that hard to identify the government buildings here either. Man, bear, pig, probably lurking in those caves. True. Let's see. Okay. Voliginak is here. Thanks for stopping by, Voliginak. As we scroll through, Spyman likes to watch videos of icebergs rolling over. Yeah, those are big, though. Those are big and powerful. Peaceful looking, but not so peaceful in reality. If an iceberg falls off the Greenland ice sheet and nobody is there to hear it or witness it, did it actually happen? Quiet Castle's looking for a Freemason. So I've actually spent some time at the National Bricklayers Union here in Washington, which is a thing. And I actually spent a lot of time researching the profession of bricklaying. And so I know a fair bit about bricklaying. I know different bricklaying styles, know how you do it. It is a noble profession. And most people have like brick veneers on their crappy little apartment buildings and McMansions. Like to get an actual like real bricklayer to lay like a real brick wall for you, it's a beautiful process. And we could do a whole stream. I'm sure it would be a highly viewed and engaging stream about how to do bricklaying. It's very exciting. I took a personality test when I was in the 8th grade. supposed to determine your future profession. I was told I should be a bricklayer, and I don't know what that means. It's like, I don't know what it means to like tell an eighth grader that like, you know what, you should like be a ditch digger. Like, it's kind of like, I mean, I guess it is a noble profession. It's just like, usually you're telling like when you're a kid, people are telling you like, oh, you should be an astronaut. Like, you know, you should like invent the cure to cancer. Like the dreams that kids are dreaming. All right, all bears be scared. Scary, I guess. I think somebody was in here saying that they thought that the polar bears, okay, they're the most carnivorous. Grizzly bear is the same scary as polar bear, says Viligenak. I mean, there's that old rhyme, like, if it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lay down. If it's white, good night. And if it's red, you're already dead. Because it's got its blood, your blood, all over its face. Okay, we have a joke here. Two polar bears are sitting in a bathtub. The first one says, pass the soap. The second one says, no soap, radio. I'm going to pretend I understood that joke. Arctic Cockwe, thanks for hanging out with us. Greenlanders are proud of their right to arm bears. Can you imagine a polar bear with a gun? I don't know how they would hold it. Greenland has both polar bears and crab people. That's the scary part. Imagine if they discover each other and start mating. What's your job? Yeah, the people at the space base. I do mysterious space stuff. I was listening to a thing today with someone that said their job in the military was that they drive aircraft carriers. And I was thinking, like, there are only a few aircraft carriers that, like, exist. Is that a job that actually exists in the military for those people that know the military? Like, is there somebody out there that's just like, oh, I took the, like, that was just, like, my job was just to be the aircraft carrier driver. Like, it seems like that would take a lot of people and not be a full-time job. But I don't know. Jeanette wants to stargaze in Greenland. Traffic court, I don't know. The Greenland Art Museum better than modern art? Does every hotel room come with cats, I assume? You could shower probably with a friend there. You could probably squeeze a couple people into the showers. All right. Let's see. Feather Mason. Spent nearly 3 months working in Greenland during the winter. Cold as heck, but very beautiful. Well, Feather Mason, I would also be very interested to hear your perspective. So anybody that has like experience in these super cold places at the top of the world, if you want to reach out, feel free to reach out to me on Discord or at landspeculation@gmail.com, our email address. Like, I would love to talk to you guys. Yes, Nightbot says, please help our channel by making a comment or two on our videos after our live streams. We love the engagement on our live streams. Apparently the YouTube algorithm also loves the comments on regular videos. So I do appreciate when people take the time to do that as well. That apparently helps us. So the regular comments are good too. Arctic Cockwe says, tearing up NATO is part of the plan in taking Greenland, not a drawback. All right. Jeanette would go for Greenland. Okay, okay, fair enough. Um, so Quiet and Vigilant were debating, like, you know, or I guess talking about whether the U.S. should be able to freely operate out of Greenland or take over Greenland. Premise being, I guess, that we did liberate them. I think we should have free reign over countries we have liberated. Nobody's ever grateful to us. We have, okay, some competing thoughts here on whether or not the Greenlandish food is tasty or not. Feather Mason says you can't imagine how blue icebergs are. Interesting. There was a kid's song about blubber whale, but I can't quite recall the words. Maybe you're thinking of Baby Shark. That was a good song. It's one of my very favorite songs. Whale makes perfect sense as food. Thousands of pounds of meat, and nature is a freezer to keep it for months. It's true. You just leave the whale carcass sitting outside. Just munch on it whenever you want to. You just munch on that whale. You just walk up to it and you're like, hi, whale. You just lean in, you just take a big bite out of the side of the whale. And the whale's like, that's okay. I don't even feel it because I'm so fat. And you're chewing on it and chewing on it and chewing on it and chewing on it. It's like eating a piece of jerky, just, but like kind of a chewier jerky. You can go like have a conversation with the whale while you're eating part of the whale right in front of it. It's perverse. McDonald's in Japan was actually decent compared to McDonald's here. Sometimes you get better input ingredients at the McDonald's internationally and more dedicated people preparing it. Google did lots of Street View in Greenland, yes, as we just saw. Disco Bay is very pretty. Seems traveling a few miles anywhere besides downtown Nook is a challenge. Not many roads. That's true. You don't have any roads, quite literally, outside or connecting between the major cities. Norman Patterson, midnight geography lesson about Trumpland. If we took over Greenland, is that what we would name it? That seems a little egotistical. Northern Lights, sure, yep. Maple syrup. The NFL should expand to Greenland. That would be hard. There aren't very many people there to go to the games. I don't know what the catchment radius is on a McDonald's, how many people you need to support a McDonald's. You could probably, I mean, you could certainly have a McDonald's in a town of 20,000 people. You could definitely support McDonald's. And I bet they would scarf that up. If you took someone who had grown up in Greenland and popped them into Florida, they would probably, yes, they would be baffled by the humidity, for sure. The fizzy water is polar cranberry lime fizzy water tonight. Although I'm running low on it. I got to get another one, but I'm sitting here streaming, so I can't. I'm trapped. Dog sled crossings are crazy dangerous. All vehicles must stop and look left and right because dog sleds don't stop. What is the average mile per hour on a dog sled? Quiet Castle wants to seize Canada along the way. See, the thing is, operating these countries is expensive. That's keep that in mind here before you want to take over Greenland. If you are worried about the national debt and about government spending, again, it takes 25% of Denmark's GDP right now just to be able to support Greenland. I have reached this point in the chat, and now I'm past it. Have children, says Liberty Lover. Okay, they change your life for the better. Yeah, and as you get older, you get a little curmudgeon-y, and you need a little bit of that, you know, youthful energy in your life. Volichnak, are you saying you have passports for 5 different countries? I'd be curious to hear that story. Spyman had a good question. What was Spyman's question? I don't know. Not seeing a question from Spyman. I don't know, Spyman, if you have your question, pop it back on. All right. Norman Patterson wouldn't bring kids into the world because of acid rain. I guess it's a funny about the freakouts that people were having about acid rain back in the 70s. Didn't really become a thing. It was all that terrifying. A bricklaying stream would be cool, says Jeanette. You know, that's what they tell you when you're starting a YouTube channel, is if you really want to crank the numbers, make a stream about bricklaying. Did Feathermen lay bricks in Greenland? I wonder. I don't know. You have to ask Feathermen. My kids are older than Baby Shark. Says no, the thing about Baby Shark as a song is it's designed for everyone because it talks about Baby Shark. It talks about Mama Shark. It talks about Daddy Shark. It talks about Grandma Shark and Grandpa Shark. Like, everybody's included. The winner tonight is Viliginac. Congratulations to Viliginac on the victory. Very nice job. Jeanette says the amount of fraud uncovered so far in Minnesota is equal to the amount of income taxes paid last year. Stop fraud and we can afford to buy Canada and Greenland. Man, if Greenland were part of the U.S., though, like, so many people would move to Greenland to hide, like, you know, do nefarious activities, money laundering, drug stuff. I don't know. I bet that, like, wouldn't we soil Greenland a little bit? Like, isn't it more pure right now? I mean, I get that, like, it's a really fun, you know, we're going to, like, do this territorial land grab and everybody gets their, you know, James Monroe sentiments all, you know, awash again. And it's, like, really fun that America's having confidence in itself. Like, we're going to go take over countries and expand our territory. And, like, how long have we beat ourselves up for? People are tired of that. Like, we want to be a country that has some damn confidence again, and taking another large piece of land would be a great step toward that. But, like, you know, it is true that, like, we don't need to control Greenland to be able to control Greenland, and we also, you know, should be wary of the cumbersome nature and expense of maintaining Greenland and defending it. But if we started, like, a Department of Greenland Affairs, a new government agency, that'd be kind of a fun one to work for, wouldn't it? How do you stay warm in extreme cold? You're talking like an entirely different level of attire. Eat all that whale blubber, it probably helps. Will the U.S. take Greenland in 2026? The 8-ball says don't count on it. could be a 2027 initiative. How are we doing on this poll at this point? Okay, so we're starting to trend in the negative direction. People don't want to live in Greenland. I don't know why. Like, I think it seems great. I think it seems like really fun and very pretty. All right, I'm going to try to upload some more Greenland stuff in the coming days. There are a couple things I wanna develop, and so hopefully we will. And yeah, okay, that's coming. So stay tuned for more. Appreciate the work of our mods here on Land Speculation on YouTube. Quiet Castle, Jeanette, James Games Moniker. Appreciate all of you guys for the chat and the comments, and those of you sharing insights about your life at the top of the world as well. I would be very curious to hear more about some of those things, if you are so inclined. The likes help us out with YouTube. The subscribes help you guys know when we're on. Check the description for the link to our Discord, which anybody is free to join. Join the Discord. Seriously, like, join the damn Discord. It's mandated. The Duck Fund, that is our Buy Me a Coffee link if you want to support the stream. I appreciate those contributions. We also have a link to our sister channel, Land Ducks International, where you can see lots of interesting things that we put up basically every day. If not every day, almost every day. We got new stuff there on Land Ducks International. It's a good way to entertain yourself and occupy your time when we're not streaming, because as you know, we are the only channel that exists on YouTube. And so I get that when we're not streaming, you guys get very frustrated. I do appreciate people remembering that we exist when it's been a few days since we've streamed. Landspeculation@gmail.com is the email address. And of course, you can also reach out to any of our mods as well. All right. If we actually like do invade Greenland with an army, that would be a very interesting, that would be like one of the more interesting topics we've covered. I was thinking about putting a segment in here about what it would take to actually invade and take over Greenland, like militarily. We might do some follow-up on that. Anyway, you can also add a super chat. Norman Patterson has popped a super chat here into the chat to show us how to do it. So yeah, awesome, Norman Patterson. I appreciate that. You know, I would say the deal with the super chats here is, anybody that pops a super chat into our super chatosphere on the channel, like, if you pop a question in your super chat, that question will of course take priority. If you want to pop a particular question, thought, or recommendation into the super chats, that will take like priority for potential future streams, or at least stream topics, or things that we will do deeper dives into. So if you really want to like get our attention, and like, I really want Land to do a stream on Taylor Swift or something, super chats are a great way to get our attention monetarily. It's like bribing us, quite literally, kind of. So appreciate that, Norman, and the rest of you for hanging out with us, because your time matters too. Whatever your time bills your employer at, like I don't take for granted that people's time counts for something too, as does your energy, your enthusiasm, your support of this channel all around. And of course the mods are top of that mountain for sure. Okay. Jeanette specifically does not want a Taylor Swift. If you say like, I really don't want you to stream about a topic too, that's also, I guess, a good way to do that. All right. Appreciate it, guys. We'll be back with more. And what does that do? Okay, I clicked the heart. Okay, I sent a heart to Norman, I think. Cool. Okay, appreciate it, guys. Don't be strangers. We will be back with more content of various things. For now, though, appreciate it. This is land that ain't just speculation. I hope you all have a good night.
Like, wow, let's say you did go to Wonderland.